Well, the stock market soared as the U.S. and China agreed to roll back tariffs imposed in this tit-for-tat trade war, and doing so at least for now. There is an agreement. It's a light agreement, but it will see a 90-day reduction on the trade levies. Stay tuned for future details and specifics. We're going to try in this program to answer what it might mean for easing not only trade tensions between the United States and China, but worldwide. Also, the end of an 18-month ordeal. Hamas releases the last surviving American hostage held in Gaza. Edon Alexander is now free. The move might be another step toward a ceasefire, despite intense bombing today across the Gaza Strip after Alexander's release. Also, wheels up. President Trump on his way to the Middle East. It's his first multi-country international trip, the second term in office. Stops are scheduled in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates. President, while there, hopes to strengthen ties with the Gulf states and talk trade, Iran, peace with Israel, Hamas, and other pressing topics. We're going to start tonight with Willie James Inman at the White House. Willie, it's great to see you. Thanks for joining us. Talk to me about the announcement from the president today and what you heard at the White House about what sounds to me to be a significant de-escalation with China and the trade standoff with tariffs.
Yeah, Major, that's right. Good to be with you as well. We saw a significant step forward in terms of a de-escalation with that trade war between the U.S. and China, as you mentioned. Now, the tariff rate from the U.S. on imported Chinese goods have been set at 145%. As Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, outlined that it would now go down to down from 115%, so 30% a rate for those goods imported into the U.S. So that 10% baseline tariff is still there. That fentanyl tariff is still there with that 30% rate. So for the next 90 days, the sides are going to negotiate and talk about a path forward towards a more significant deal. So this is at least the framework of a conversation for a deal down the road. The White House is saying this is a trade deal, but it's not necessarily that. They have an agreement to talk further. The Chinese, for their part, they are essentially going to set their tariffs at 10%. That would be down from 125%. They're also willing to open up some non-monetary trade barriers to U.S. goods into their country. So a lot more to talk about here, a lot more details to be worked out. But at least for now, the White House and the president included is pitching this as a victory to the American people.
And the president, of course, built the tariff escalator up. He is now reversing it, and it's going back down, and the Chinese are following in suit. Talk to us, Willie, about this airplane from the Qatari government, a gift to the United States, I guess to the Defense Department, possibly in line to become a temporary version of Air Force One?
Yeah, this news broke over the weekend, and there is a lot of concern about the ethical implications of this, about whether or not the president can accept such an opulent gift. It is a multi-million-dollar jet, a 747-8 to be specific. This is essentially a more modern version of the 747, the big jet, the jumbo jet with the 4 engines that people are used to seeing the president ride aboard Air Force One. That is the jet that he took, of course, to head towards the Middle East. Look, this jet and this donation, as is being described, would essentially say to people around the world that the U.S. government is willing to accept these types of gifts. But the White House maintains that they're going to follow the law, that they're looking into the legal ramifications of this. The president, as you see there on social media, defending this, saying this is free of charge. And he essentially said, why wouldn't he accept this? Why wouldn't he accept a free jet? But there are some questions about what the Qataris want out of this. Do they want further investment, continued investment in a military base, for instance, the largest military base in the Middle East that the U.S. operates there in the region? There are some concerns on Capitol Hill. In fact, some criticism coming from Leader Schumer, a Democrat, the leader in the Senate. He essentially said nothing says America first like Air Force One brought to you by Qatar. It's not just bribery, it's premium foreign influence with extra legroom. That criticism coming from Leader Schumer there in the Senate. So a lot more questions about this jet and whether or not it will happen. And the Qataris, for their part, they're saying essentially that there's no final decision made, that this is still under consideration about how this will happen and indeed when the transfer of this jet could potentially happen, Major.
And having flown numerous times on Air Force One, I can tell you, Willie James Inman and the audience, that a substantial, and I mean substantial, and costly amount of retrofitting would have to go on to make any gifted jet to the United States government security worthy of the president's travel. Willie James Inman, thank you very much. I appreciate it.